If you think you know poultry just because you've spent years raising chickens, you're in for a real wake-up call when it comes to geese. These birds aren't just oversized chickens with longer necks. They are complex, emotionally intelligent, and fiercely loyal creatures with a reproductive system that breaks almost every rule we've come to accept in standard backyard farming. While a chicken might feel like a mechanical egg-laying machine, a goose is a strategic thinker, planning its legacy with a level of precision that is frankly mind-blowing. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the 12 essential keys to goose reproduction that every homesteader, whether you're just starting out in the Midwest or you've been farming the Southern Plains for decades, needs to master. Understanding these points is the difference between a wasted season and a yard full of healthy, vibrant goslings. We're talking about maximizing fertility rates, understanding territorial shifts, and protecting your investment from the ground up. If you want your homestead to be truly productive, these 12 secrets are your absolute roadmap to success. Let's get started. 1. Lifelong monogamy. Make no mistake, a gander is nothing like a rooster. While a rooster will burn through his energy trying to fertilize every hen in sight to spread his genetics, a gander operates on a much stricter code of honor. Most goose breeds are naturally inclined to form monogamous pairs that can last for the bird's entire life. This isn't just some romantic curiosity, it's a high-level survival strategy. By staying with a stable partner, the female's stress levels remain incredibly low, which allows her reproductive system to function at peak performance without the constant interruption of a dominant male trying to force himself into her space. For the professional breeder, this means your selection process is as much about social compatibility as it is about genetics. You have to respect the natural affinities of the birds. If you try to break up an established pair or force a new gander into a settled flock, you're looking at a massive drop in fertility for that entire season. The gander protects his goose with total devotion, ensuring she feels safe enough to begin laying. If one of them passes away, the survivor often goes through a legitimate grieving period, sometimes refusing a new mate for a year or more. In the world of geese, social harmony is just as important as the feed in their buckets. 2. Mating in the water. While these birds are physically capable of mating on dry land, nature designed them for maximum efficiency in the water. Before they ever get down to business, you'll see the pair engage in a beautiful, synchronized courtship dance, dipping their necks rhythmically in a display of mutual commitment. This isn't just for show. It serves a vital biological function by helping the female relax and get into the proper hydrodynamic position. Water acts as a natural weight support, which is a game changer because a healthy gander can be quite heavy. The buoyancy of the water allows the gander to achieve a precise and effective connection without causing physical stress or injury to the female's back. If you want to see your fertility rates skyrocket, providing a stock tank or even a simple kiddie pool during the breeding season is the best move you can make. Furthermore, the water helps keep the cloacal area clean, which drastically reduces the risk of bacterial infections that could contaminate the egg the moment it's laid. When you give your geese access to water for mating, you are respecting thousands of years of evolution that ensure a much more successful genetic transfer. 3. Unique anatomy. This is one of the most surprising and misunderstood aspects of avian biology. Unlike chickens and the vast majority of land-based birds that rely on what we call a cloacal kiss for fertilization, geese possess an actual internal retractable reproductive organ. This unique anatomical feature places them in a select evolutionary group along with ducks and ostriches, giving them a massive reproductive advantage in the farmyard. This organ allows for a much more direct and protected delivery of genetic material, ensuring that fertility remains high even in difficult weather or high humidity environments. This anatomical edge explains why geese are so efficient despite laying far fewer eggs than a chicken. Their reproductive system is built for precision, not volume. It minimizes waste and ensures that every mating attempt has a very high probability of success. For you, the breeder, this means you don't need a massive ratio of males to females. One vigorous, well-fed gander can easily maintain a small harem with incredible fertility rates, provided you give them the space they need. 4. The guardian's aggression. The personality shift in a gander once the breeding season hits is nothing short of legendary. That bird that might have been a calm or even shy pet during the winter suddenly transforms into an implacable warrior. His protective instincts kick into overdrive as he establishes invisible perimeters around his mate and the nest. He will defend that line with intimidating hisses, powerful wing slaps, and direct physical strikes against anything he perceives as a threat. And that includes you. While this aggression can make daily chores a bit of a challenge, it's actually the greatest guarantee that your reproductive season will succeed. A gander showing this kind of territorial fire is a clear sign of high testosterone and peak reproductive health. His constant vigilance allows the goose to focus entirely on egg production and incubation. She delegates all security concerns to her partner, who won't hesitate to take on a raccoon, a fox, or even a stray dog to protect the nest. Never punish a gander for this behavior. That mean attitude is the shield protecting your future flock. 5. Limited seasonality. Your modern production chicken is a bit of an industrial miracle, capable of pumping out eggs almost year-round. But the goose follows a much more natural and rigid biological clock. They are seasonal layers that respond directly to the photoperiod, the amount of daylight they receive each day. In most parts of the country, production is concentrated between late February and May. Nature has timed this perfectly so that goslings arrive just as the spring flush of grass provides the tender, high-protein forage they need to grow. For the homesteader, this short window means your strategic planning has to be flawless. You don't have all year to fix management mistakes. You have a few precious months where every decision counts. You need to dial in their nutrition weeks before the first egg is expected, ramping up calcium and high-quality protein so they hit the laying season with optimal body condition. Understanding this biological clock allows you to work with the bird's natural rhythm rather than fighting against it, ensuring you get the most out of that critical spring window. 6. The downlined nest. The construction of the nest is a moving act of maternal sacrifice that puts other birds to shame. A goose isn't satisfied with just a pile of straw or hay in a corner. She demands thermal perfection for her young. As the moment of incubation approaches, the female will actually begin to pluck the softest, finest feathers from her own breast to line the nest. This material, known as down, is the most efficient natural insulator on the planet, capable of holding heat even when the mother has to step away for a quick drink or a bite to eat. This behavior serves a dual purpose. By plucking her feathers, the goose allows her warm skin to make direct contact with the eggshells, facilitating a much more efficient and steady transfer of body heat. The down also acts as a moisture barrier against the ground and protects the eggs from sudden outdoor temperature swings. It is a level of dedication that ensures the life inside that shell develops in a perfect microclimate created by the mother's own body. When you see that nest overflowing with white soft feathers, you're looking at a mother goose's total commitment to the survival of her brood. It's incredible to see how nature has equipped these birds with such specific mechanisms to ensure life continues, even when the weather or predators try to get in the way. But what happens inside those eggs and the amazing communication system those little goslings develop is something that will truly blow your mind. Continuing this journey of knowledge is what will allow you to master the raising of these majestic birds. We've already seen the complexity of their bonds, their vital need for water, and the mother's sacrifice in building her nest. But what happens inside that shell and in the first few days of a gosling's life is what truly sets this animal apart from any other resident of the farmyard. It is a process of patience, invisible communication, and a family structure that will genuinely surprise you. 7. Eggs of stone. A goose egg is, in itself, a masterpiece of natural engineering. It's not just 3 or 4 times larger than your average chicken egg. Its shell possesses an impressive hardness and density. This isn't an accident. Geese usually nest on the ground, often in uneven terrain, and the eggs must be able to withstand the weight of a mother who can be quite heavy. For the homesteader, this means that calcium supplementation is non-negotiable. If the female doesn't have the mineral reserves to build this armor of calcium carbonate, the eggs will be fragile, and the embryo won't have the protection it needs to develop during the long incubation period. However, that hardness doesn't mean the egg is a sealed capsule. On the contrary, it is extremely porous to allow for a vital gas exchange. A goose embryo consumes a massive amount of oxygen and releases carbon dioxide and water vapor at a rate much higher than a chick. For this reason, nest hygiene and environmental humidity are critical. If the pores get clogged with dirt, or if the environment is too dry, the shell will become so tough that the gosling won't be able to break out at birth, a tragic phenomenon known as being shrink-wrapped or dead in shell. Understanding that you are handling a structure that is as strong as stone but as delicate as a lung is the first step toward ensuring your hatch rates are successful. 8. The waiting period. If raising chickens is a 21-day sprint, raising geese is a 30-day marathon of endurance. Depending on the breed, goose incubation can last anywhere from 28 to 35 days. This extra time is fundamental for the gosling to develop its musculature, its complex internal organs, and its thermoregulation system, which is much more advanced than a chicken's at birth. During this month of waiting, thermal stability is the absolute law. The goose knows this, which is why she barely leaves the nest, but if you are using artificial incubators, you must be extremely precise with your Fahrenheit settings. Any sharp temperature fluctuations in the second half of the cycle can be fatal. This period requires a type of patience that many beginner farmers just don't have. It's tempting to want to help or intervene, but the goose needs that time to completely absorb the yolk sac, which will be its energy source for its first few hours of life outside the egg. Additionally, during the last few days, the humidity must rise significantly to soften that stone-like shell we mentioned earlier. It's a delicate balance. Too much heat speeds up the process and weakens the bird, while too much cold stalls it. Learning to respect this biological calendar is learning to trust in the wisdom of nature, a virtue that every great poultryman must cultivate. 9. Prenatal communication. This is perhaps one of the most magical points of the entire process. Long before they break the shell, goslings are already active and communicating. Approximately 48 hours before hatching, the embryo begins to emit small clicks and vocal sounds from inside the egg. This isn't just random noise, it's a synchronization signal. By hearing each other, the siblings coordinate their birth so that they all emerge from the shell within a close time frame. In the wild, this is vital, as the mother cannot wait for days for everyone to hatch while the first ones already need to get to the water to feed. But the most impressive part is the mother's response. The goose answers these sounds with soft hisses and specific guttural noises. This prenatal dialogue creates an auditory bond that allows the gosling, at the exact moment of hatching, to already recognize the voice of its protector. If you are incubating artificially, this is a critical moment where many breeders choose to play recordings or talk to the eggs, as it has been shown that sound stimulation strengthens the embryo's will to emerge. A goose's life begins with a conversation, and that exchange of sounds is what ensures the family stays together from the very first second in the outside world. 10. The imprinting. The goose is the absolute king of imprinting, a psychological phenomenon that defines who their reference figure will be forever. In the first 24 to 48 hours after hatching, the gosling's brain is like a sponge, absorbing the image of the first large moving object it sees. Under normal conditions, this will be its mother, and from that moment on it will develop an unbreakable following instinct. This connection is so strong that the gosling will not only learn from her what to eat and where to shelter, but it will also form its social identity based on that first encounter. For us, this represents a huge responsibility. If you are the first thing they see, and the one who cares for them in those critical hours, to them, you will be mom. This can be an advantage for having docile, easy-to-handle animals, but it also means you must be the one to teach them the boundaries and the routes of the farm. Imprinting isn't just about following someone, it's an accelerated learning process where the gosling absorbs body language and danger signals. It is an emotional bond that lasts a lifetime and explains why geese are capable of recognizing their owners among thousands of people, demonstrating a social intelligence that few birds possess. 11. Present fathers. Unlike roosters who usually wash their hands of the upbringing once the chicks have hatched, the gander is an exemplary and extremely active father. It's not uncommon to see the family parading around the homestead with the female in the lead, the goslings in the middle, and the gander bringing up the rear like a rearguard soldier. The father goose doesn't just watch for predators, he actively participates in the education of the young. He shows them where the best grass shoots are, guides them to safe water, and uses his large body to provide shade or warmth if the weather turns extreme. This presence of the father completely changes the dynamic of the farmyard. Goslings raised with both parents tend to be much more balanced, less skittish, and grow faster due to lower environmental stress. The gander becomes a life instructor, teaching them the group hierarchy and how to stand their ground if necessary. For the farmer, this means there is no need to separate the male from the family unless he shows unusual aggression. On the contrary, letting the father goose exercise his role simplifies much of our work, as he will handle a large part of the security and herding that we would otherwise have to do manually. 12. Reproductive longevity. To close this cycle of learning, we must talk about time. While a modern production hen is often considered old or past her prime after her second or third year, geese are a long-term investment. A well-cared-for goose can be reproductively active and fertile for 10, 15, or even 20 years. This means that the bonds we mentioned at the beginning, that monogamy and mutual understanding between the birds, perfect themselves with each passing season. An experienced pair of geese is a treasure for any homestead, as they get better at parenting, more efficient in the nest, and more expert in their vigilance over the years. This longevity allows us to select stable genetic lines and see how a family evolves over decades. You aren't raising a quick turnaround animal, you are building a lineage. The wisdom acquired by the older geese is passed down to the new generations, creating a culture within your own flock. By investing in geese, you are betting on stability and quality over immediate quantity. It's a different philosophy of breeding, based on respect for time and life, which at the end of the day will reward you with the satisfaction of seeing a farm full of life, history, and productive success. I hope these secrets help you look at your geese with new eyes and value every stage of their fascinating reproductive process. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep learning how to turn your farm into a model of success, don't forget to subscribe and share your experiences in the comments. Your knowledge helps others grow too. To your success, fellow breeder, until next time.